All right, you guys, these are just some quick notes to go over your graphic organizer to make sure you got the correct information in your Amoeba Sisters video. So when we're looking at the differences between DNA and RNA, the one difference is the number of strands. So the DNA has 2 strands and RNA has 1. Bases included in DNA are adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. So the T here, that is for thymine. All right. Bases in RNA does not have thymine. RNA has adenine, uracil, cytosine, and guanine. So the U here is for uracil. So there is a difference between the bases. The name of the sugar in DNA, the sugar is deoxyribose. So we have deoxyribose sugar, and in RNA it is ribose sugar. The role is different between these two different types of molecules. The role of DNA is it stores the genetic code. And the genetic code is the instructions to make the organisms. So these are the instructions. And what the RNA does is it actually produces the proteins. And you guys can kind of think of it like DNA would be the recipe to make the cake, and RNA would be the process and actually building the cake. Okay, so the actual following through of the cake building. Quick image. DNA is double-stranded. It looks like that twisted ladder, so double helix. And the RNA is a single strand with those exposed bases. All right, types of RNA. There are 3 different types of RNA. There is the messenger RNA. There is the transfer RNA. And there is also ribosomal RNA. Now, with the type of RNA, they each have a different job or a different role in the process of making those proteins. So messenger RNA, like we said, is mRNA. The transfer RNA is referred to as tRNA. And ribosomal RNA is rRNA. The function of the mRNA is it brings the instructions that are stored in the DNA, so it brings the instructions to the ribosome, and the ribosome is the location where the proteins are going to be made. So it's kind of like, maybe you're gonna make that cake, and so you go and get the recipe for the cake from the recipe book and you bring it to the kitchen so that you can read the instructions and make the actual cake. You don't just leave them in the recipe book. All right, the transfer RNA, the tRNA is going to transfer this is going to transfer amino acids to the ribosome. And this is kind of like bringing the ingredients to actually make the cake. So the mRNA is the instructions. It's a copy of the recipe. The transfer RNA is actually bringing the ingredients. So it brings the actual amino acids. In the cake, it would be like I'm bringing 2 eggs or I'm bringing a cup of sugar. The ribosomal RNA, this actually makes up the ribosome. So the ribosome is made of rRNA. And that's why they call it rRNA. What these things look like, the messenger RNA looks like that single strand. The transfer RNA, when you guys see it, sometimes it looks like a little like cactus or some kind of structure, it has 3 exposed bases. It actually has like little bases all around. But it typically is going to be carrying one of those amino acids. So connected to it will be an amino acid, because that's what it's bringing. It's bringing amino acids, it's bringing the ingredients. And then the ribosomal RNA is what the ribosome is made of. So the ribosome, if you guys remember, it looks kind of like a hamburger with the top of a bun and a bottom. And so this is a little RNA strand with all the bases exposed, just like the mRNA, but it's in 2 units, a top unit and a bottom unit. And all of the RNA is all wound up. And then overall, the structure looks like a top and a bottom. Looks a little bit like BB-8. So here we have the ribosome. And then the RNA is all on the inside of it. So that's the structure. All right, so what you guys want to do is you guys want to answer these 3 questions on the bottom to just test yourself. Can you list the 3 types of RNA? Can you explain the differences between them? And can you speculate which one do you think existed first? Kind of like a chicken or the egg argument. Did the DNA come first or the RNA come first? This is going in your notebooks on page 45. And then on page 44, you guys are going to write a acrostic poem about nucleic acids. So anything you've learned about DNA or RNA, you want to write informational sentences that stem off from each letter of nucleic acids. What you guys are going to submit is page 44. I hope you guys have a great day.